to faculty members, or pardon me, classes using IU eText through the using titles ordered through IU eText to teach their classes. I've said that all backwards. So we have 3,502 classes that are using eText, with 1,400 plus faculty members using eText in their classes. So that means that 56% of our students are using an eText in at least one of their classes, and that's generated $7 million in combined savings for them. And recently we started to look at what percentage of students were using IU eText within an academic year. And for this academic year, that number is 62% of all students. Additionally, I want to tell you that up front that our campus bookstore has a non-inclusive contract with the university. So that means the bookstore has no involvement with the IU eText initiative. We're simply two completely separate systems for ordering course materials. So we're really excited to announce that we've recently celebrated our 10th anniversary of the IU eText initiative, and we're looking forward to its continued growth. So to encourage that growth, we've chosen to focus our outreach message on the broader concept of how IU eText promotes academic success, not necessarily cost savings. So when we're out talking with faculty, they may or may not be too excited about saving students money, but they are interested in how IU eText can help them solve typical problems that they have, like students not purchasing books or having the wrong edition, or using a test version of a book and then not having it when they really need it. So what we want faculty to know is that at Indiana University, the eText initiative has become a proven method for delivering course material, and it's designed to eliminate many of the early risks and barriers to academic success in a class. And specifically, we want them to know that every student in their class will have access to their required material integrated right into their Canvas course on the first day of class or before. That those discounted charges for course materials are billed directly to student bursar accounts as a course fee, and they're covered by all forms of financial aid. That using the Engage e-reader, instructors can engage with students right in the text to help them develop good reading and studying habits. And finally, instructors have insight into their students' activity with their course materials through analytics that can help better inform their teaching. And all of those things then promote greater academic engagement, success, and retention. So I'm passing it over to Mark.
So to build on what Noma just said, in particular, also the issue of the bookstore, it matters where we are and how we can do what we do and why we send the messages we send, how we communicate. So if you want to show the next slide, Noma.
Sure.
We're part of a subunit in our technology office called Learning Technologies. And I think that's really key to what we do and the approach we've taken. That's why we tend to focus on the academic outcomes of our initiative. The prices are meaningful, important. The discounts are awesome and unbelievable in some cases. But it became very clear, I took this position about 7 or 8 years ago, and it became very clear that the university had been focusing solely on discussing the price savings, and we just weren't seeing many faculty jump on board. They just were not that fascinated as a general rule. But like Noma said, when we started talking about the academic success side of things, that's when people started really paying attention, and that's when our numbers really started jumping. And that's where the majority of our communications are all focused on, is the academic side of this piece. People will still get fascinated when we show them the catalog and we can show them a 90% discount off of the Pearson title that they've been using. That still works, but the real hook is the academic side of pieces. So being in learning technologies and being able to say that we are all about learning outcomes and technology that promotes learning and teaching and all those good things is what's really, really, really important. And that makes everything a little bit easier for us to send the message out, to do the outreach that we do, to do the types of communications. These things all build up together. I know we have it a little bit easier than some of the other institutions out there, but I want to make sure that you understand where we're coming from.
Okay, so next we want to talk a little bit about how we approach outreach. So in this section, I'll just talk a little bit about outreach that Mark and I initiate or that we participate in as part of a larger event for our learning technologies team that you just saw on that previous slide. So as I noted earlier, we have more than 21,000 faculty and staff members at IU. And like any big institution, these people get bombarded with information all the time. So we've had to find some novel ways to compete for their attention. We also always have new faculty members joining this team and new materials coordinators who haven't yet heard about IU eText. So to reach them, we've adopted this high touch style of faculty outreach that includes the things I've got listed here, like direct emails to anybody who enrolls in our Canvas course that Mark's going to talk about a little later. You know, I contact every single one of them and let them know that if they have a question, they can contact me. We also send out some targeted emails at the beginning of our ordering periods twice a year as well. We've also dabbled with this idea of short webinars. Our IT training team started doing this earlier in the year. They put on a 30-minute webinar about a topic like pivot tables with Excel. And you know, in 30 minutes, you're not going to learn everything about pivot tables, but if you can teach somebody one thing to get them excited to take the longer course, they're going to do it. And that's exactly the approach we've taken with this getting started with IU eText webinars. I focused those just specifically on one topic, like it might be just how to use the order tool or how to search for a title in the catalog or best practices for using Engage, and just to give people the idea that it's easy. And by the way, now you know what I look like and my contact information, and you can reach out to me for a longer conversation if you have questions. We also have these two wonderful events that our team puts on. And we're part of that as you know, we just ride along with those events. One is called the Scholars Book Fair. It's a really fun and lighthearted event that mimics those scholastic book fairs that you may remember from your childhood, that carnival-like atmosphere of the being able to go in and buy inexpensive books from your elementary school. So we've taken that concept and repurposed it into what we call the Scholars Book Fair, and give faculty and staff the opportunity to come meet with their choice of any one of 10 experts on affordable content options, including us, and spend just a little bit of time kind of in an environment that's outside of a webinar. We've done this both virtually and in person, but it certainly works better in person. I'm going to drop the, well, I think I'm going to, maybe I'm not going to. I'll drop the links to this in the chat in just a little bit because it's, if you can see the web page for it, it's a lot more interesting than what I'm describing. A second event that we do with our team is called Speed Dating with Learning Technologies. And it's just like it sounds. We do this one in person and or virtually as well. It allows faculty to date a range of potential tools and services to gain exposure to a lot of resources in a short period of time. So Mark and I've had to really hone our elevator speech for this thing because we only get 7 to 9 minutes. It depends on the event, to tell people all about IU eText or tell them just enough to hook them in to wanting to learn more. So this spring, we also tried a different form of the speed dating. We actually invited our vendor partners, so the publisher vendor partners and some of our learning tool vendor partners to join us for these speed dating events so that faculty could hear directly from the vendor about the tool and see a demo of that. And people really, really loved that. So we were pretty excited about that. And in case you're interested in these events, after you take a look at the webpage that I'm going to put in the chat in a little bit, we have kits that we've developed that you are welcome to copy and use at your institution if you're interested in doing so. We've also always found that food is a great way to get people to join us. We have a budget for providing lunch or snacks to any unit or department who has at least 15 participants in an event that we schedule. And we try to pair those events with things like faculty orientations or faculty senate meetings, anywhere where a large number of faculty are going to gather. We try to be there right after or right before so that we can kind of pony off of those events to get more people, because sometimes it's really hard to get people to attend yet another event on campus. And then I think the last thing I want to mention just briefly was that in the spring of 2020, I was all set to do direct coordinator outreach. And then unfortunately, we had a pandemic. So the plan was for me to go directly schedule a visit with each coordinator, each of our staff coordinators who helps with faculty with ordering their textbook, just to get an understanding of where they were with their experience with using the ordering tool and see what kind of concerns and problems they were having, and help them gain confidence in actually placing orders for eTexts and suggesting it to faculty. Unfortunately, pandemic intervened, but I'm really hoping to get back to that once we're in person hopefully this fall. So all of these things that we're doing are just really meant to get the topic of eTexts in front of the person for the first time and give them a face to go to, a name to go to if they have further questions, and do follow up about that. So I'm tossing it to Mark.
And I want to reiterate, based on all the stuff Noma was just talking about, that high touch approach is huge for us. That's where we're seeing the majority of the payoff. Let's say when we look at the feedback that we get from the people we interact with, when we look at names of who orders after events, these are the kinds of events, these are the kinds of communications that are really, really paying off well for us. It's incredibly resource heavy. Noma and I are a two-person staff. Luckily, a lot of everything else works awesome because there's a great Unizin infrastructure, there's a great IU infrastructure in place. So we can spend almost all of our time doing outreach and follow-up and education and development with faculty. And that's pretty much what we do. We're pretty busy people. But that personal experience really pays off. And again, I go back to the title of our session. It's not just the communication, but it's also providing support. We can get these people interested. We might be able to get them to try, but if we don't follow through with them, we risk losing them. So being, like Noma said earlier, you know my face, you have my contact information. I'm a nice person. I'm a friendly, helpful person. We want to keep following up with you. We want you to be successful when you make the transition to doing something that for a lot of people, until very recently, was unheard of, very, very different, very, very scary, until they were forced into it. So one of the ways to help free ourselves up is this self-paced approach also. And you can go ahead to the next slide.
Yep.
Back to the beginning of my time here, very quickly I realized I kept getting asked the same questions again and again and again, and I was retyping all the same emails, and then even copying those emails and pasting them got to be outrageous. So I created this resource site in Canvas, which faculty are used to using, so they can go and it's reference, it's resource for all the most basic points of everything related to this initiative. And what that does then is allows me to say many times, one of the most famous faculty lines is it's a form of it's in the syllabus. We can say it's in the Canvas site. It's in the Canvas site, which then frees us up for deeper conversations, more meaningful conversations. We've got this all in writing for them about how to order, when to order, when's the deadline. What we would really like to spend our time on more of is introducing new people who haven't heard of it yet, and then also moving to the next level. Now that we've got you with an Engage order, let's talk about how to actually really use Engage and really see some outcomes in your class. Here's some strategies we can think about and work on. Those are the best conversations that we have. Those are the best communications. And then those also tend to lead towards those faculty doing some of our work for us by sharing with their colleagues what a great experience they had. Here's a great resource I found online. I can look at it myself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And we kept it as simple as possible, as light as possible. Most of the pages in here, there's only like 30 pages or so, and they're all about a 2-minute read, maybe. There's 2 or 3 deeper ones where we're focusing on the philosophy and making some arguments about why this is a great thing for those people that want to argue back. And also, if you're interested and curious, I've dropped this into the Canvas Commons, so you can go search for IU eText if you want to borrow anything that we've done and build on that. But this is certainly a time saver for sure, and it's a dynamic tool that's constantly being updated as deadlines change, as new information comes along, as Unizin makes upgrades to their tools. We update everything here, and it's a very popular site. Apparently, we have over 4,000-ish, I think, people signed up for this. It also allows us to communicate to them in another way. We can use the announcement feature in Canvas to talk directly to the people who are most directly connected with just us. As an example, Engage has got a maintenance window coming up on Friday, and we sent that out through the announcement so that everybody who is using this should know that for a little while they won't be able to use Engage on Friday morning. The other thing that we did, working with the folks at Unizin and with some of our publisher partners, if you can see at the top of the menu there, we've got a sample instance of Engage in there for them, and we've loaded some sample texts. Noma and I have uploaded some documents on our own to get people a sample of what kinds of things you can see and do in Engage, and so they can go around and play with it at any time. When I do presentations, this is my PowerPoint. I just take this thing and show it up on the screen, and everything I want to talk about is in here somewhere, and I can very quickly jump around. Created a student version of, don't necessarily communicate to students very often, but we want to make sure faculty know that they don't have a lot of extra Engage. They can just them to this site, the basics of here's why we're making this change, here's why we're doing things this way, here's the getting a refund if you want to do that. And also we're trying to normalize it like we are with faculty, and make sure that they understand that 56 of your colleagues, your co-students are using this thing too. Not nearly as successful yet as the faculty moment are relying on faculty to share the link. Not quite ready to do a direct student presentation on this site to do some improvements before we go there. But both sites really make our easier and give us a lot more opportunity to focus on communication. One of the other things for them then is that I use portal tasks and services that are online. We've circled there in the bottom right corner. That's our link for all of our faculty and coordinators of how to get there. Commonplace. Later, over on the row on the left-hand side, there's our links to our Canvas sites. So in those sites for faculty and coordinators. But it's also in the most common place, and it gets them right to when time comes.
So, Mark, you were breaking up a tiny bit for that. So if anybody has any questions about what Mark said, put them in the chat and we'll make sure that we get you that information. I couldn't tell if it was on your end or my end at the beginning of that, but I think it was on your end. So let us know if you need some clarification about that. So we also are very, very fortunate to have a great partnership with our UITS in-house communications team that's called the IT Communications Office. This is a professional communications team that provides many services that help us reach a broader audience with professionally produced materials, because neither of us have that skill set. So we are grateful that they take that weight off of us. So this slide shows just a few of the examples of the great work they do for us. So on the first thing on the far left of the screen, you're going to see this eText 2021-2022 communications plan. We sit down with them and we do a year-long plan. They help us think through, when are we going to need to put communications out there? What should that look like? What format should that take? They help us with like direct emails. They help us with social media. We just have to queue it up, let them know and approve the message they're going to send, and then we've got it set up on the schedule, and they do that for us, which is tremendous because I don't have time to remember to do all that. They also develop graphics for our events, like the banner that you see on the far right. There's a postcard there kind of in the middle that we put in every faculty member's mailbox at one point. I don't have an example of digital signage, but when we go to do events at our regional campuses or any campus, they'll produce digital signage to help us promote our events. They also do a great job with preparing swag for us. They propose ideas. They know what other people are giving away, so we're not giving away exactly the same thing as other people. And then they help us produce the graphics that go on top of it. And then, the little booklet there that says IU eText is actually a Post-it notebook that faculty members really seem to love, and coordinators love it even better, which makes me really happy. The markers at the bottom, the faculty members really liked too, and again, it gives them links to find more information and to help reach us. So, and oh, one thing I forgot to mention here too, the IT communications office also puts out a biweekly e-newsletter that reaches every constituent at IU. So that is a great way to amplify our message. In addition to that, they also help connect us with other IU communications venues. So we have news at IU Bloomington, we have news at IU Kokomo, we have all the different campuses, and then we have an overall news at IU. Recently, they were able to amplify our 10th anniversary message across all of the campuses. So those kind of things we just wouldn't be able to do without their help. So we're very grateful that we have them to work with.
We also have some other partnerships. We don't do it all in-house, or we don't do it all ourselves, although we like to do as much as we can. We want to maintain control of our messaging, ways we think, certain things we want to nice and friendly person. That's an image that we want to present IU eText. But people out there, some that work with that we don't take advantage of the full use of their participation to help us get the message. Because
I think you're having bandwidth issues there. So can you turn off your video? Maybe that would help, because the audio is way too static.
Is it changing? Does this sound?
You're still breaking up a little bit, Mark, but it's a little better.
A little better? I will. Well, if I miss anything, Noma, you can jump in, or we'll put questions in the chat. Partners that are important to us are across every campus. We have a teaching center, and we have an embedded staff member from Learning Technologies in that center. Good relationships with all of the professional staff from those centers. And so Noma and I work to keep those folks advised of that are coming, news, information. And mostly we've taught them to recognize when someone says, I have a challenge I want to solve, if there's any way, shape, or form that engage us can help solve that problem, show them the Canvas resource site, and we want them to direct them back to Noma and I to chat with in more detail. So we get a lot of support from our teaching centers. We are also just what hopefully will become a very strong partnership with libraries and library institution. We probably are we could probably work together better. So just tomorrow, I think, is our first big meeting with this group to see where, by working with our librarians, hopefully they will become very helpful. They've already really librarians who had heard about us and knew enough. This is probably the better place for you. The really helpful are the public sales. Once they fully understand that a 100% through is good for their bottom line, they are some of your best resources. Some of your you do have to be challenging to manage and control when they start talking to people, because they are still salespeople bottom line. And no offense meant that they have a different approach and they have a different goal than we do. But once they're informed, they can be great allies. And I have pretty regular meetings when they have organization-wide rep meetings for them, offer them some guidance, clarify some messages that they might be sending. Sales reps, if you can build with your local sales, that's an incredibly relationship and they for you. They've been always anything that we provided with them, links, information about messages. I absolutely loved being in the event, talking about that last speed dating event.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mark, are you ready to move on?
Yes, let's go on to the next one.
Okay, great. So you were breaking up a little bit through that. I tried to pop as a abbreviated message in the chat there. So and if you have questions, folks, please feel free to ask us about what he said there. And our last slide, if I can get it to go, we'd like your questions, and we'd also like for you to contact us if you want to have a further discussion than we're having today. You can reach us at the email address on the screen. I've put both of our personal emails there and also our group email, which is etexthelp@iu.edu. And yes, it's correct without the E in the help. Questions, we'd love to take them. I didn't see any jump in here. Oops, wait a minute too. So Rihanna, I think early on in the chat, you said for the last slide, is that portal pointing to the Canvas course, the order tool, or some other location? So the portal points to the order tool, and I believe the default landing page is on order tool, and you have to click to catalog. Is that right, Mark?
Correct.
Yep, and you actually answered that in the question too, didn't you? Okay. Any other questions? Well, let me stop my share so I can copy those links I promised you and put them in the chat. Wow, there are a whole lot more of you than I thought were here. We're glad that you all made it. Let's see. Okay, so first off, I'm popping in the speed dating with learning technologies. And then I'll put in also the Scholars Book Fair. And again, like I said, go check out the webpage. It's much more entertaining to see some nice pictures than the way I described it in my part of the presentation. And if you have a desire to recreate that event, remember on the page links that I sent out just now, you have the opportunity to click on a link for the kit. And the last thing I want to put in here was that recent link to the article about the story that they put in the news at IU. Okay. So while I was doing that, did anyone think up a question they want to ask? Need any more information? All right, so can you tell us more about the book fairs? Yes, let me do that. So to start with, I have to tell you that we kind of went all out. We got a little bit extreme. So when we first started doing this, we did events in person a year ago. When we still could be in person, we were doing this in person. We blew out all the stops. Like when we would go with as I said, we based this on the Scholastic Book Fair. So we used children's books as our theme. So we made parody book covers for each of our separate of the 10 separate affordable content events. So for eText for example, the book was a parody of the cover of a Dr. Seuss book, Green Eggs and Ham, and we titled it eTexts and Ham. We also had another one called for digital learning tools that was called the Magic School Bus Explores Digital Learning Tools. And so for every different subject that we presented, we had these parody book covers. And if you go to that link that I showed you, you'll see those. So we have big signs over our designated area. With those signs, we made bookmarks that replicated the bookmarks that they usually give out at those book fairs that the participants could take notes on about each of our topics. We had little flyers, like the little booklet that you use to actually order the Scholastic Book Fair book, to order the Scholastic books back in the day. And to further, make it carnival-like, we had all types of swag that people could pick from, but they had to go to a table and talk to people, and then they'd earn what we had called a scholar dollar. And so they could take their scholar dollars to the swag table at the end and buy food. We had popcorn, we had individually wrapped cookies, we had protein bars, we had pens, pencils, our little notebooks, our eText Post-it notebooks, all types of things, the markers. So the idea was just to make it fun. And people could come and visit with you for as long as they wanted to. There was no time limit on this particular event. It was simply designed to be as an introductory way for them to meet with us. And they could then, if they wanted to follow up, we of course took their name, they could contact us. We always had big screens available along with us so that we could actually do a demo if they wanted to see a demo of the Canvas site with the Engage. We have the sample link in there. So it was a really fun event. People liked it. We had good attendance at those. And again, pairing them with other events really helped. So we have another question, if that answers your questions about the book fairs. Mark, do you want to take this one? Was the student Canvas course available in Commons just like the faculty course? Yes, it is. I can do that one. That was quick. Sorry, Mark. Any other questions? And I do want to add that Mark is making some changes to that student site, so he hasn't uploaded it yet, but I think he's planning to do that. And then you're welcome to change that however you would like or adapt that. Okay, so we have another question. What makes someone a successful eText advocate to faculty? Mark, do you want to weigh in on that first? Or did we lose Mark? So while we're waiting to see if Mark will jump back in, I'll answer that. I think that you have to be genuine with your faculty and make them feel like you truly have their best interests at heart, which of course we do. I mean, it is always, Mark said, it's our goal to help them be successful with this technology. I know when I interviewed for the job, for this job, one of the things I said was, I'm going to meet people where they are, wherever that is. I mean, they might be horribly afraid of this technology. And if I can understand that, then I can help them move forward, since this is the way a lot of things seem to be going. I think it helps to be positive, to always do what we say we're going to do. If I say I'm going to get back to somebody, we always do. And if we really can't do something, we're just honest and say, we just can't do that yet. We'll work on it. So we learn a lot from about what faculty want when we meet with them directly, and we just listen to what they say and try to make it work for them. And I guess I have to follow up on that just a bit, Vicki, too, and that is, for the most part, our faculty choose to use an IU eText in their course. We do have instances where an entire program or a department will decide they want everybody to use an IU eText if it's available. Mark was going to talk about this, and I think because of the breaking up problems, he probably decided not to do that. But we do have one course at one of our regional campuses that's about college success, and it's focused on new students entering the university. They decided to take they have a written textbook that they use for that, and they decided that they would do that all digitally through IU eText. It's a self-produced book through Pressbooks, or pardon me, no, it's not. It's not through Pressbooks, but it's a self-produced book, and we present it for them. And we had faculty members, who were maybe brand new, very digitally savvy, all the way to people that had been at that regional campus for 30 or 40 years. And so we had to make sure everybody was able to use that resource. So we went down as a team, Mark and I and our intern, Candace Buggs. We showed everybody how to log on. We practiced with them. We did follow-up one-on-one conversations with anyone who wanted to do that. I spent a lot of time with that just to make sure people were comfortable with that. So, we're committed to doing whatever it takes to bring a department on like that. And we let them know that up front, that we'll support that transition in any way we can. And it doesn't help when we offer, it does help a lot when we also offer free lunch to go along with that. So I don't see any new questions, but I'll hang on here for a bit in case someone has one. Meanwhile, I'm going to put my email in the chat. And Mark's as well. I'm sure he won't care. And again, that group email that we have that you can catch both of us at is, I'll also pop that in there as well. All right, then, since I don't see any other questions in the chat at this time, I'll go ahead and end the session. Thanks for joining us today. please please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. We're committed to helping the Unizin Consortium eText program grow as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thanks and have a good day. Bye-bye.